So I give our praises and then glory to Jehovah, Shimi Hashem, Bashir Kakadash, and I give double honor to the elders and apostles, great millstone, who will and teach us sound doctrine and peace and blessings to your elect. Now, I have a next article. Now, I've talked about the fuel, the petrol, the gas, whatever you call it, in a different video. But I found an article and this, I said, I've not really read the article, but I'm gonna go through the article quick. I'm not gonna make this long, and I'm gonna get a couple of precepts and close it out. UK waters down new Russian oil sanctions as fuel prices rise. So you have a gas station. Plans to improve a ban on UK imports of diesel and jet fuel made from Russian oil in third countries have been watered down amid concerns over supplies and price rises. And the reason why when you've come to a realization of you having to water something down, that is because you say, okay, I mean, we know because UK is a part of the beast, and the beast, remember the scripture says the beast shall hate the whore. So it never, we'll see what the Lord does with this, because this could be the starting phase. Because if you have to be dependent on someone for something, you look at it as alright, who do I benefit the most from? Oh, what happened? Okay, what do I get from the US? Guys, remember Trump. You remember, although this is actually, you remember Trump is causing a situation where this is affecting global gas prices, and especially those in England. So continuing on, plans to improve, plans to, Slovakia, plans to impose a ban on UK imports of diesel and jet fuel made from Russian oil in third countries have been watered down amid concern over supplies and price rises. I remember price rises, they're not just happening with petrol. People are focused on petrol, gas, but it's not just happening with gas. It's happening with food. It's happening with a variety of different things. And that's why you're supposed to watch as well as pray, so that these different things don't catch up. Because we're watching a different what's going on and trying to stay up to date so that we don't get caught off guard. Because anything could escalate in a short period of time. The government will now phase in some sanctions over the coming months due to effective blockade of key Strait Hormuz waterways since the start of the US-Israel war with Iran. The Foreign Office denied the shift in policy could be described as a waiver on sanctions aimed at hurting Russia's economy, but admitted extra flexibilities were required. Uh, Vladislav Vlas, Vlasyuk, sanctions commissioner from Ukraine, said he understood the rationale behind the UK's decision, but said he disagreed with the approach. Our concerns relate specific. I remember someone Russia is opposed. They're on the side of Iran, who is opposing the US. I know the UK has made a decision to water down this thing is a ban that they put on Russia. So you know that may generate additional revenues for Russia's war machine. The original plan to ban oil products derived from Russia's crude oil, such as jet fuel and diesel, entering the UK from third countries, was first announced by was first adopted as part of a raft of fresh sanctions by the government in October last year. The Center for Research, Energy and Clean Air estimated about 1.8 million pound worth of oil products made from Russian crude oil had been imported to the UK via India and Turkey since the first ban on oil was imposed in December. And something else, people people think that gas and petrol and this thing is just when you're driving. It's not just driving. Driving, um, it's planes, as the man just said, jets. So this is. Hold on, let me get a preset. I believe it's in. Okay, yeah. A man, second Ezra 15 and 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and not be able to. No, there's more than one avenue you can look at this, but and there's more than one avenue you can look at this, but imagine that imagine that the gas becomes so scarce that the flights end up having to be increased to a point so that they can generate profit. Then someone could have a desire, for example, to want to go to such and such a place, but not be in the position. But I'm just saying that as a perspective. But the watering down of planned measures will effectively allow imports of jet fuels from India, which was previously a key supplier to the UK and Europe. A lot of Russian crude oil is also refined in Turkey. It is also understood the government now plans to phase in the ban in the coming months. The rules will be reviewed regularly and will allow for full ban to be phased without causing instability amid fuel shocks stemming from the Middle East conflict. As you're seeing a lot of things happen, you're seeing a lot of things happen, and this could also, this is a preview. This is just a little taster. Guys, Jacob's trouble is going to be much worse, and as I said, that Middle East region, that is a crucial player when it comes on to the times that comes. The government targeted short-term licenses had been issued within the refined oil import ban to support flexibility in the UK supply and global markets. It denied delay amounted to a sanctions waiver, which was put in place by the US government last month and was highly criticized. The conflict, the Middle East, has effectively ended transport of oil and liquefied natural gas, as well as other essentials. More than half of Europe's jet fuel is transported through the strait, and as a result of the supply disruption, European jet fuel prices are nearly double what they are before. As I said, you know, because it's more scarce, they have to increase the price. No, of course, it might not affect like like it, it, well, the price for flights have increased. They have increased. But you're just seeing, although it may not seem um dramatic, you're seeing an effect of things that are going on. More than half of your in late February, before the first US and Israeli airstrike, jet fuels were trading $831 per ton in Europe. By early April, it it touched 1,830. So that's over 1,000. dollars before beginning to fall. It is now at 1,375. So that is still over $500 more. UK is issuing a ban of maritime transportation of Russian LNG related services, but time limited license will now allow this to continue until the 1st of January. The UK has led international efforts to put economic pressure on Russia over the invasion of Ukraine, and Tuesday the UK signed a G7 statement reaffirming its unwavering commitment to impose severe costs on Russia. Robin Williams, executive of Dubai-based energy consultation Comar Energy, said that such changes send a negative signal that sanctions on Russia are potentially weaker because of the crisis in the Gulf, and that it would unlikely lead to lower fuel prices. This measure looks unnecessary. It's not going to bring prices. It's not going to bring down prices, but it's also not going to attack the shortage. That probably wasn't going to happen anyway. You know, I really say that. But this week, Ryanair chief executive Michael O'Leary said risk of a fuel shortage was almost zero. However, other airlines have cancelled flights in response to the surge in fuel costs. At Prime Minister's questions, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, what's her name? She's called Badenoch, accused the government of choosing to buy dirty Russian oil and said Sir Keir Starmer was losing the moral compass by backsliding Ukraine. But Sir Keir defended the government's sanctions, telling MPs it was a case. It sorry, it was it was a case of new sanctions being phased in, that none of the existing sanctions are being lifted in any way, and it amounts to more pressure on Russia. The Metro Lit, it's like I Litvin communication advisor to President Zelensky said that there was a highly active communication underway between our diplomats to clarify details of the sanctions. Trade Minister Sir Chris Byrne apologized to MPs, saying we've handled this clumsy and that's entirely my fault. I think we've ended up giving the wrong impression of what we're trying to do. We're not trying to strengthen the regime. We're trying to strengthen the regime, not weaken it. We're not waiving any sanctions, he said. Earlier this week, the US extended a similar waiver, first introduced in March, which loosened sanctions preventing other countries buying oil and petroleum already loaded on the vessel at sea. The UK has been criticized by many US and UK allies who, who say it helps the government of Vladimir Putin and his invasion of Ukraine, which has been ongoing since 2022. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that the Strait of Hamas shutdown in no way justified lifting the sanctions on Russia, while the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said every dollar paid for Russian oil is money for the war. A UK government has introduced a new wave of tighter restrictions on Russia, including further export and import ban against Russia. Our support for Ukraine is unwavering. These additional sanctions will further restrict Russian revenue and degrade its ability to wage Putin's illegal war in Ukraine. Okay, let's see another article. Well, I just read to the edification. Lord, when it was edifying, I'm gonna put the link in the description. We got our precept, and as the scripture says, be not ignorant of any matter, both small or great. So watch as well as pray. We see which direction the Lord takes it in. Or the Lord could have this fizzle over it, but nonetheless, you can't allow that to make you lose patience. But in closing, I want to give our praises and glory to Jehovah, Shimi, Sheba, Shimi, Kakadash. Until next time.